Now, we have seen in the last session that is the how this reward strategy which has been decided with the keeping in mind the business strategy and the individual's interest and the overall holistic view of the reward strategy. In this connection, we have also talked about that is the different countries like the Asian countries, China, India, USA, Europe, how these priorities are there by these the talented employees for their career growth. Now, in the first and foremost which the point of consideration comes, that is the how we can go by these justifying the rewards. If you want to justify the rewards, we have to also take the feedback. So, background of the 360-degree feedback we will check. The 360-degree feedback, the process, what is the process, how it is done, evaluating the potential using the 360-degree feedback, coaching and development, facilitating the coaching session, steps for ensuring a successful coaching session is there, right. Now, here understanding the perspective for the identifying meaningful reward strategy, and there are 4 perspectives an organization should seek while aligning the rewards with the broader business strategies are the employer perspective. The last time we have seen that is the employer's perspective is the discussion with the key organization leaders. Now, what is the goal of the organization? If an organization is MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprise, then definitely in the discussion by these organization leaders, that will be totally different. And when we discuss for the LEs, large enterprises, then it will be totally different. So, how the reward program should be structured, that will be the discussion will be done by the leaders of those organizations, and it depends on the size of the organization and nature of the organization. Then employee perspective is there. To know the employee perspective, qualitative analysis. So, it is not quantitative analysis, right, it is the qualitative analysis. Whenever we talk about the qualitative, it is the work life enrichment concept, and that qualitative analysis by conducting focus group study and quantitative analysis by conducting the survey of rewards preferences to employee can be done. Now, when we are doing this survey of the employee's perspective, we end up that is to the quantitative. In the qualitative, we develop the case studies, we take the interviews, we understand. But when we do the quantitative analysis, so we use the Likert scale, we take the responses, that is what is your priority for your incentives and rewards, what are your preferences. Now, here role of the demographic variables that we have to also consider, and the role of the demographic variable is this, that is the age, gender, then the economic status, the qualifications, the geography location. So, these factors will affect whenever we do the survey for the identifying that which incentives will be highly motivating for you. So, dear friends, it is very important whenever you are designing a reward strategy, keep in mind the demographic variables, and employee also wants to understand the qualitatively and quantitatively. The external perspectives, in continuation of our earlier discussion, they provides insight into the how the rewards stack up against those of other similar companies. In the previous session, I talked about the units at the different geographical locations, and therefore, in that case that will be the how these rewards will be there for that particular geographical locations. That provide insight on how to weight the employer and employee perspectives. So, naturally, the organizational leaders, they will decide the employer's perspective, and the employees by the qualitative and quantitatively they will decide their own perspectives. Here, whenever you want to make the changes into the reward system, to develop the reward system, keep in mind the employer and employee perspective both. Also benchmark the compensation and benefits of the competitor compared to their own firm. So, whatever the compensation and benefits are there, then those the geographical location, who are your competitors, and accordingly those competitors we have to decide. Internal cost perspectives, organization need to balance what they offer with what they can afford. It should not be the overwhelmed response, it should not be underwhelmed response. It means that principle of equity is to be followed. Whenever we follow the principle of equity, then the internal cost perspective will be there. Each of these 4 perspectives will provide insight into the potential success of the total rewards program. So, whatever the total potential success will be there, and if you are considering the employee perspective, external perspective and internal cost perspective, then definitely that will be having the total reward systems are there. Now, performance drivers, performance enablers and legacy drivers, right. So, that in the now this we have discussed earlier, but now we will talk about the employment arrangement and the drivers, enablers, right, and legacy drivers are there. First we will like to take the long term. Now, in the case of these permanent performance drivers, it is the those who are willing to work for the long time in one organization, right. Here we have to also keep in mind, with the change in time, the service industries, they have been more preferred by the employees or talented people, and when we are talking about the service industries, here the turnover of the employees is also very high. So, but if some of the percentage of some of the employees, they want to go for this type of the long term benefits, that will be the career, alternate work arrangements, that in the permanent time, the continuity of work, this type of the performance drivers will be there. If performance enablers are the contingent, that is the base pay and benefits, then definitely in that case we will find that is the with the period of time. Contingent is situational. Situational means what? So, normally when we talking about the wage agreements, and wage agreements are there for 3 years, standard time period is 3 years. However, it may vary from organization to organization, but the common practices, conventional period, that is of 3 years, that is whatever the base pay is decided today, it is assumed that it will go with the increments, of course, for the next 3 years at least, and therefore, in that case this becomes the base pay is there. Then there will be the benefits also, that is with this particular base pay, what are the benefits are there. The permanent is there, that is a short term incentives, what are those short term incentives are there, and alternate work arrangements are there. So, that is a legacy drivers, they will be legacy drivers will be like the permanent drivers will be there. So, in the performance drivers, it is the career is there, in the legacy drivers short term incentives there. However, alternate work arrangements, that is the common in both performance drivers and legacy drivers both, because they are into the permanent in nature. Now, situation contingent, traditionalist and baby boomers. So, traditionalists, they are the cash financial incentives, right. Baby boomers, they are going for the benefits are there. The performance enablers are the cash and then the benefits are there. Legacy drivers are cash. Now, generation X and millennials, cash, potential, full time employment, right, and that is the performance drivers are looking for. Legacy drivers are looking for the short term incentives, right, because they want to know that is the immediate cash benefits. Who are these? Normally these are the generation X and millennials. So, therefore, at this age slot, right. So, the age range, This type of these short term incentives, they are more popular. So, if you are hiring the talented employees, you want to retain the talented employees, you want to develop the talented employees, you want to create the total reward strategy for these the generation X and millennials, which is more applicable nowadays, and therefore, please keep in mind that is the short term incentives, they will become the more popular. Second, these short term incentives, they are looking to be in the form of cash and looking for the full time employment is there. In building a total reward strategy, one needs to think about the rewards, components and how they work together, while considering the value of those components are revealed by multiple perspectives: employer, employee, legacy, situational, contingent, employer, employee, cost, external perspective and internal perspective. Thinking holistically, considering all reward elements, whatever the rewards are there, these are about whatever we have talked about, different reward elements, drawing on multiple perspectives, on considering the outcomes before the designing constitute a best practice approach. So, whenever you want to design a reward strategy, consider these all the perspectives: employer, employee, external, internal, cost, all these aspects which you please consider quantitatively and qualitatively both, and then you design, then definitely it will be a successful story. So, what are the global principles of the developing a total reward framework? So, principles are the degree of segmentation within the organization, right. Example is the geography or tenure, right, that is the for the 3 years or 5 years, and the level, junior level, middle level or the senior level is there. The role of each rewards element for the each segment, that what will be the role of the each reward, right. It will be attraction, engagement of the employees and the retention of the employees is there. The appropriate external then comparator groups are there. So, who are those? With these your reward system, that will be compared industry, local geographical location and the ownership, right. The consistent application of the reward strategy, that is the what will be the consistent application, or that is the overarching principles are the same, but the details vary by the segment is there. The segments are attraction, engagement and retention. The competitive position of the each element in the pay fix, at what percentile till this pay be targeted against the various markets. So, that will be decided. The degree of performance orientation, amount of pay at risk and performance against various metrics are there. The affordability and sustainability of the rewards program. Here you have to be very careful, because once you start giving the rewards, you cannot take back. Then you have to develop on those already existing reward practices. You cannot reduce, you cannot cut the size and the amount of that particular reward. So, it should be slow and steady and performance based, the reward system. Ability to manage current and future cost, that is also important. Sometimes it happens that is the awards are given into the foreign currency. So, I remember that is the dollars will be paid, and the dollars when this in one organization, when this incentive scheme was started, that time the dollar was 16 and 17, and within 2 years that has become 32, almost double. So, when it becomes double, then in Indian rupees it was becoming very difficult, right, because the amount was double. So, be careful, that is keeping in mind to manage whether you are able to manage the current and future also. If you are able to manage the future also, then your reward system, reward strategy, overall reward strategy, that will be successful. But you initiate at very high level and then you are not able to sustain that reward, then that will be a big challenge. Then it will be a IR problem, industrial relations problem. The framework for the decision making and the cascade within the organization is the governance. Many times it has been seen organizations are having the excellent reward systems, but it is not reflected in output. Then the leaders of the organizations are in this dilemma, that is whether we have to continue this reward system and whether the reward system is impactful or it is not impactful. When we are announcing the rewards, it is not only that we inform to the employees about that rewards. We have to also see the governance of the reward distribution. If rewards are not have been enjoyed by the appropriate talent, appropriate means how we will decide the appropriate? The reward is made for a particular characteristics of an employee, and that is why you are saying he is a talented employee. Now, the talented employee, and it is a performance driven, as we have seen in this previous slide. If he is not performing, an employee may be talented, but he is not performing. So, when you are linking the reward with the talent only and not with the performance, then the survival of that reward will be in the question, and it will be misused and misleading. But if you have the proper governance, you are linking your rewards with performance, potential and talent. All components are taken into consideration, then your governance will be the effective governance. Many times we have seen governments are announcing the different reward system or the benefits to the citizens. But if the governance is not proper, so it is not giving us the output. So, government has to be very careful in governance. So, there can be the different policies, different benefits, but if it is not reaching to the right talent, then the expectation of the performance from that particular policy, that will become doubtful. The approach in vehicles for the communicating rewards. So, then how to make the governance? Like we have seen our Prime Minister has emphasized much more on this IT enabled services, ITES, because then it reaches, as I mentioned, the challenge was with the governance was to reach to the right talent. So, therefore, emails, portals and social media. So, we are making the awareness, we are giving the clue. So, wherever the talent is there, may be into the billions, right, but the talent will be able to get this. So, when we are talking about the multinational companies and when there are the thousands of employees and reward is fixed at the far geographical place and it is reaching but to the right talented employee, and then he says thanks God, that is the one. And now the way to reach to the right talent is the information technology, ICT, information communication and technology. The extent of the administration needed to maintain the programs, amount of automation and manager self-service, this is becoming very, very important. So, here the employee himself should be able to get these rewards. The monitoring process and the measures to evaluate the ongoing success of the programs, right. So, that has to be employee sensing behaviors and actions, leadership input, return on investment analysis. If we are following this global level of principles, then we can design the total global reward program. Maintaining the total reward principles and frequently reviewing their appropriateness, effectiveness and applicability are suggested preventive measures to avoid an established total reward program for becoming the disconnected from the internal desires, both employer and employee. So, when we are taking the employee perspective, external factors, internal factors, the cost and the global principles of the governance, pre-governance, governance, post-governance, benefits and permanent tenure and the contingent issues, when all these are taken into the consideration for the appropriateness, effectiveness and applicability, then definitely there will be this successful reward program. Otherwise, if any one factor, if it is not having the employer, employee, external, internal perspectives, or it is not properly governed, or it is not reached to the properly communication, then in that case it will be disconnected from the internal desires both from employer and employee. Both will say that it is not effective because it is not properly implemented. So, when the feedback goes, it goes, that is the, it has not become the beneficial, that benefit we have not received. And external market and ultimately failing to sustain the organization's competitive position. So, if you want to make the competitive position, you have to work for that. A global workforce of the future is one that demands that an employer invest its leadership. This is very, very important. Who are the leaders of your organization? Because this strategy, reward strategy, it flows from top to bottom. Because first it is a strategy and the strategy is also from employer to employee. So, naturally from top to bottom. However, it is having the bottom up approach. I know that is the feedback which has been quantitative analysis is given by the employee perspective, then only it is complete. The time, at what time this has been given, and precious employment budget. Now, the benefits and the time period, they are very much relevant. So, whatever you initiate today, it will be converted tomorrow. So, be careful, reward should not be jumping out of the skin, that is the you are not able to manage your distribution of rewards. In building a customized total reward program that considers fairness, that is the first condition. Who are the receivers of the rewards? If we are making them for the talented employees, it has to be for the talented employees. And the sustainability, but most important is the engagement. So, basically what is employer's perspective? Employer's perspective of the distribution of reward is to be engagement of the talented employees. And what is the employee's perspective? To contribute the best and get the best. An employee willing to make such an investment is one that understands how a total reward programs can evolve with the times and create a sustained competitive business advantages there. So, in this 360-degree concern for organizations, they seek to create and maintain a culture of leadership, innovation, engagement and performance, right. So, this is becoming the major aspects, that is the how we are able to create that the leadership, innovation and engagement and performance is important. For supporting the organizations in maintaining this 360-degree goal, then the 360-degree provides an accurate analysis of the leadership potential and current effectiveness for the leaders and their organizations is a primary purpose of 360-degree. So, therefore, unless and until we do not have the proper analysis, accurate analysis of the leadership potential and what will be the effectiveness, then the 360 degrees purpose will not be served. It has the roots as the 1940s. 360-degree performance appraisal has historical roots within a military context. During the 1950s and 60s, this trend continued in the United States within the military service academics. And at the United States Naval Academy at Annapolis, the midshipmen used a multi-source process called the peer gris to evaluate the leadership skill of their classmates. During the 1960s and 70s, organizations like Bank of America, United Airlines, Bell Labs, Disney, Federal Express, Nestle and RC experimented with the multi-source feedback in a variety of measurement situations. These are certain examples are there. So, who are involved into 360 degree? The first and foremost is that is the self rating, the person whose appraisal is to be done, he is to be also taken into consideration. By whom? By immediate supervisor, naturally by the subordinates of the particular self, the colleagues and the rating committees. So, rating committees are the stakeholders. Nowadays, we are talking about the stakeholders. Stakeholders are all the suppliers, vendors, customers. So, all will be the rating committees are there. So, in that these will be the stakeholders into the 360 degree. 360 degree surveys are appropriate for assessing the potential of the leaders to perform in roles with greater responsibility, while others are more suited for assessing the effectiveness in the current job. 360 degree process measures the leadership competencies that are considered important by the organization and that leaders receive accurate feedback on these competencies are there. The Center for Creative Leadership CCL has developed a 360 degree assessment, and that is called the benchmark for managers. That is a talent management that is based on the research on how successful leaders develop and why they sometimes derail. So, examples are McCall, Lombardo and Morrison. In this particular paper, they have given the wonderful certain examples. So, meeting job challenges benchmark for managers are the resourcefulness needed to cope with the demands of the job, the drive and attitudes necessary to be successful, and the ability to learn and make decisions quickly. So, they are the challenges or competencies which are required. So, because what is happening is the resources are very limited. So, resourceful needed to cope with the demands of the job. So, as per the job demand, the resources are to be cope up, and the attitude, that particular positive attitude is required to be the successful. The ability to learn and make the decisions quickly, and what are the problems are there, can stall a career, derailment. The failure to build relationship and to negotiate well, this is very important. First is to develop a relationship, build a relationship, and then the negotiation. Problems with interpersonal relationships, that what are the interpersonal relationship are there, and difficulties changing or adopting and too narrow a functional orientation, that is the how we are this care to adopt the solutions are there. Here is one example of 152 coaches in 62 organizations conducted by Novak found that after face to face interviewing, 360 degree feedback was the most popular tool used for the talent management purposes. When 360 degree is used for the coaching and development, a confidential feedback session is held with a trained coach who is experienced with the assessment being used and if required certified in this use is there. So, what are the options for the development in the training right there? That can be formal, can be the courses, education and distance learning, this is the what you are doing. Informal is the coaching, people surrounding to you. 360 degree feedback, you are taking the feedback from the your subordinates and superiors and colleagues, peers, right, and the mentoring is there, which is very important. And the experience is job enrichment. So, it is not the job enlargement, it is a job enrichment. You are adding the value to your job. When you are doing the number of tasks, it is a job enlargement, but when you are adding the value to the task, that is a job enrichment. Job rotation, having the experience at the different positions, in addition to your specialization, you are also getting the experience for those areas where you were not having had the expertise. Job transfer from one place to another. When we are talking about the informals, informal is the individual and team, the assignments, teaching others, networking and style assessments are there, and therefore, that will be the informal aspects will be there. So, how will the data be used of this 360 degree? Who is seeking a promotion to the next level in the organization has an entirely different framework for feedback than does a person who is happy in her current role. So, naturally, those who are looking for the future growth, they will be highly concerned with all these stakeholders. Those who are happy in the current job, they will not be concerned for the rest of the stakeholders. What is happening in the present job situation? There may be something occurring within the organization that is having an impact on the feedback, that is a downsizing is there, then definitely they will not be they know in this organization, which is a sinking organization, there will not be much possibility, right. Is the recipient surprised by any of the feedback, disappointed or pleased? Sometimes these questions alone are enough to get people talking about their reactions to the data, that is the what type of, because sometimes they may say, I was surprised to get this particular comment or results, and this was the feedback, right. So, then that will be the considers. And finally, what overarching the themes emerge from the data, right. So, perhaps the most valuable thing experienced feedback coaches can do is to help recipients make the connections in the data they do not initially see. So, what changes is the recipient motivated to make right now in the future? The most critical decision the recipient makes about the data is choosing the areas on which to focus and work. While experienced feedback coaches should leverage their expertise with the feedback survey, they should resist any temptation to act as an expert on the individual recipient's data. The recipient should decide what to pay attention to and how to make meaning of the feedback. Effective coaches see themselves as guides to the feedback, asking helpful questions and helping the recipients to make connections in the data they have received. So, this is all about the role of the 360-degree feedback and developing the talent acquisition and development of the overall reward strategy. Thank you.